Good evening on TV 47 News tonight. Kenya to immunize the entire adult population against COVID-19 by December 2020. President Uhuru Kenyatta announces an ambitious immunization drive. Also tonight, the BBI bill appeal kicks off. Lawyers for the BBI defend President Uhuru Kenyatta for initiating the popular initiative to amend the constitution through the Building Bridges initiative. Plus, teachers' unions and TSC clash. Teachers' unions reject 2021-2025 CBA since it does not have a pay rise provision for teachers. And less than 24 hours to go. The government has until tomorrow midnight to name persons who benefited from the 7.5 billion shillings scandal. Will they honor the IMF loan bargain? And Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. Good evening, I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. President Uhuru Kenyatta has revealed plans by the government to boost the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine in the country amid shortages of the jab. According to the head of state, the government now seeks to vaccinate 10 million people by Christmas this year and 26 million people by the end of next year. This as the country gears towards full vaccination. And as our reporter David Mudoka now reports, President Uhuru Kenyatta has further issued new COVID-19 protocols to complement the vaccine rollout in the war against COVID-19.
In his 16th address on the COVID-19 situation in the country from State House, Nairobi, President Uhuru Kenyatta on Tuesday evening revealed accelerated plans by the government in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the head of state, triumph over the virus now hinges on the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine, insisting that by Christmas this year, the government seeks to inoculate 10 million people and 26 million people by the end of next year.
When we reported the first case of COVID-19 more than 15 months ago, the idea of a vaccine was nowhere in our minds. 1 year later, in March 2021, we were able to roll out a national vaccine deployment plan.
This comes at a time when the country is facing shortages of COVID-19 doses. However, the head of state has stated that with the acquisition of a shipment of 13 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in August and the imminent completion of a human vaccine center, the turbulence witnessed since vaccine rollout took off in March this year could soon be a thing of the past.
Using these vaccines and others in the pipeline, this is how we will vaccinate over 10 million Kenyans by Christmas of 2021 and 26 million Kenyans by the end of 2022.
As at Monday, 1.2 million Kenyans had been vaccinated, among them 1,003,204 people who have only received their initial dose and 289,800 who have so far received their second dose. This means in a span of 3 months, less than 1% of the Kenyan population has been vaccinated, with the government now staring at an uphill task of vaccinating more than 9 million people within 5 months to reach its 10 million target by December.
And we will have built a capacity to vaccinate 150,000 people every day as of August of 2021.
Meanwhile, President Kenyatta has issued new COVID-19 protocols that will see curfew, among other measures, last until September earliest. The measures include a 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. dusk to dawn curfew in 13 western counties, the usual 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew in the rest of the counties, an extended ban on political gatherings of that capacity during in-person worship services, mandatory COVID-19 COVID-19 free certificates to those flying into the country, as well as a 100 persons limit in funerals, weddings and other events.
As a country, we have adapted to the new normal with grace and resilience, and for this I thank Kenyans.
David Mudhoka, TV47, Nairobi.
Moving on, the 7-judge bench of the Court of Appeal constituted to hear the appeal against the High Court ruling that nullified the BBI constitutional amendment process has begun the 4-day hearing. The Attorney General and the BBI Secretariat today presented their submissions in an open court at the Supreme Court Gardens. The two appellants arguing their case in their attempt to salvage the BBI bill. And as Musa Salah now reports, the two appellants seem to agree on the BBI bill's interference with the basic structure doctrine of the Constitution, which the High Court said cannot be changed.
Yes, President, I'm just curious.
Armed with the piles of files and papers, the four appellants in the appeal against the 13 May High Court ruling that declared the BBI constitutional amendment process unconstitutional flocked into the open court at the Supreme Court Gardens.
It does not exist.
First on the stand before the BBI Secretariat argued their case was the Attorney General's team that raised 31 grounds of appeal, including the structure of the Constitution, in which the 5-judge bench of the High Court based their judgments on, claiming that the BBI would change the structure of the Constitution.
It is an item of jurisprudence that some, what I would call New Age scholars, are trying to urge on the world to say that there should be some limitation to be decided by the judiciary on when people or what people can amend in a constitution. These concepts are not being employed elsewhere. In fact, our own neighbors have rejected it. Uganda has rejected it. Tanzania has rejected it. Every African Supreme Court has rejected it. For some reason, Kenya has decided it is okay.
The trial court, because they were so anxious about applicability of the basic structure doctrine, they had to create it. They had to invent it, because nowhere does it exist in the Constitution.
The High Court decision to throw the BBI bill out of the window on grounds that the BBI bill was initiated by the President and thus not public-driven seemed to have irked the senior counsels. According to the two appellants, the 5 judges denied President Kenyatta his individual political right as a Kenyan to initiate a public initiative.
And the point that I was making is that, in fact, the people have an option of going to Parliament through Article 119. So both the President and the people can access Parliament in that sense.
Now, Mr. Karori, under Article 257(2),
yes,
a popular initiative for amendment,
yes,
may be in the form of a general suggestion or by way of formulated as a bill. Do you see a situation where those who wield state power can make a general suggestion? To whom are they making that general suggestion?
Lord, I do not want to hypothesize, but I can, even when you are talking about the general citizen, the Wanjiko, when they come up with a general suggestion, to whom would they be making that general suggestion?
To the Parliament, to the county assemblies, etc., to government, to the state. Yes.
And Lord, the President can make a general suggestion or can make a suggestion
to his government,
to the people, to consider an amendment to the Constitution. Right. They can make a general suggestion.
The Elections Act gives the President actually the power to come out with an issue to be taken to the people and a referendum held.
The lawyers argue that the 5 judges erred in law by recommending that separate questions should have been placed for separate issues in the BBI bill if the bill was passed and a referendum held.
And have replied in this court as such respondents.
Lawyer Charles Kanjama, who petitioned that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC's signature verification exercise was flawed, was thrown out of the appeal, the court having declined his plea to participate in the case.
The quorum to pass constitutional muster will just be the same number.
No, my lord, there's actually a maximum number which is 9.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
For purposes of conduct of the business, if there are 9, that's fine. But my lord, the point that I'm making is simple. The Constitution says each commission shall consist of at least 3, but not more than 9 members.
So if you have 9 members in a commission, you're saying so long as there are 3, that is a quorum.
My lord, my position is that as long as a commission has a minimum of 3, it is entitled to conduct the business of the commission.
Okay.
The hearing is expected to continue on Wednesday as the IEBC and President Kenyatta's legal team prepare to submit their submissions. Musa Salah, TV 47.
Let's get to some education matters. And teachers' unions, NAT and KUPPET, have rejected a proposal from the Teacher Service Commission on the 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement, saying they won't sign the document because it lacks an important component, that of salary increment for teachers. TSC, on the other hand, says the proposals they brought on the table were as a result of advice from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Our senior education affairs reporter Sharon Baranga has the details.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.
It is a meeting that brought together leaders from the Kenya National Union of Teachers NAT and Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers KUPPET. On this day, they were speaking one language. They have rejected a proposal from the Teachers Service Commission on the 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement because it did not touch on the salary increment for teachers.
What did we come out with? Nothing. 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 Nothing in terms of remuneration. And we are told to take it to our members. I want to say here and now, I cannot be crucified by members 2 days in office. Yesterday was Monday. Today is Tuesday.
KUPPET is reluctant to entertain a CBA with no monetary benefits.
The union leaders say they were not going to sign the document from their employer until their issues are heard and added in the CBA.
COVID-19 as a shield. Who doesn't know that COVID-19 is there? Shall COVID-19 stop you from eating? Shall COVID-19 stop you from going to school and teach? Let us not pretend. So the issue of calling on strike, that one is level to everybody.
The Commission has been negotiating in bad faith. It is knowingly waiting until the dying hours of the current CBA to bring nothing to the table.
On the other hand, TSC defended itself, saying the proposals they presented to the teachers were guided by advice from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission.
On June 17, 2021, the SRC gave an advisory that there would be no review on the basic salary structures, allowances, benefits paid in the public sector in the financial year 2021 to 2022 up to 2022 to 2023 financial years. In line with the SRC directive and keen to ensure that our teachers enjoy other benefits of a CBA, the TSC immediately commenced the 2021-2025 CBA negotiations with all relevant unions in the teaching service, well aware that such talks could maintain the components maintain the components of basic salary, annual increments, allowances and benefits currently obtaining in the teaching service.
The 2017-2021 CBA that is currently being used is set to expire at the end of this month, which is tomorrow. The meeting between the teachers' employer and the unions comes a few days after Wilson Sossion stepped down as Secretary General of NAT and Colin Soyu was elected as the leader of the one-time giant teachers' union in the country. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Thank you, our senior education affairs reporter Sharon Baranga, for that. You're watching TV 47 News tonight. Time for us to take a short break. Stay with us.
You are watching TV.
Munisikize. Kwanza nataka kusema jambo moja. Tumepata mgeni ambaye anaitwa Beatrice, ameingia kwenye kikundi hiki. Mnafurahia? Huyu ndio dada Beatrice. Japo kwa kuna mama tu mmoja anaitwa What? Elvis, come here.
Washer Ultra Detergent, unlike your ordinary washing powder, is formulated with 3D enzyme action designed to remove stain, kill germs, and make your laundry super clean. With ultra concentration for that one handful wash, plus a smooth fragrance to put a smile on your face.
Kuna uchafu kwenye nguo zangu, ninashindwa nitafanya vipi? Kuna suluhisho moja ya ajabu, na ni nini kama si washa?
Hey, baby. I thought leo ni chama. Nini inaendelea?
Washa Ultra ina nguvu mara tatu ya kupambana na kila uchafu. Washa Ultra ni sabuni ya ajabu. Sisi sote tung'are na washa.
Washer Ultra. Happy hands, happy clothes.
At Global Precast Panels, we have the best quality, durable and affordable precast panels to suit all your needs. Manufactured under a controlled environment, we have the best precast concrete panels, precast concrete floor slabs, precast concrete perimeter wall, precast concrete columns and beams. Our panels reduce construction cost by up to 40% with absolutely no plaster required, including added soundproof benefits. Convenient for story buildings, schools, offices, stories.
Welcome back to TV 47 News tonight. Thank you for staying with us. Now, the Office of the Auditor General has faulted the State Department for Crop Development and Agriculture Research for hiring helicopters for the containment of the locust in the country at a cost of 252 million shillings. The Auditor General says the procurement of the helicopters was irregular as the tendering laws were not adhered to. Evaluation and recommendation for the awards of the tenders were not evaluated as well. Mwangi Maina tells us more.
In an audit report before the National Assembly for the year ended June 2020, the Auditor General has faulted the State Department for Crop Development and Agricultural Research for hiring helicopters irregularly. In the first contract, the State Department hired helicopters for provision of low-cost air surveillance in Isiolo, Marsabit, Nakuru, Eldoret and Kerio Valley at a cost of 103 million Kenya shillings. The Auditor General says there was no evaluation for the tender before it was awarded. Of the two companies, the Auditor General says one tenderer was not licensed to operate an aircraft and used the registration of another firm. On the other hand, the other tenderer did not have a valid operator certificate, authorizing it to undertake commercial air transport operations. In the second contract, the State Department spent 149 million Kenya shillings for the hiring of helicopter services from two firms appointed through direct procurement. The Auditor General has flagged this expenditure as records for the tendering process were not availed for audit and there was no disclosure of the negotiations. The Auditor General further says, and I quote, "The contract signed by the accounting officer, State Department for Crop Development and the two firms were not availed for audit. As a result, the existence of the contracts could not be confirmed." End of quote. The auditor says there are no records on the acquisition for the use of the helicopters and manifests were not availed to indicate the persons ferried and flight routes taken. Arising from the anomalies, the Auditor General says, and I quote, "It is not possible to confirm that value for money was attained on the expenditure totaling 149,680,800 Kenya shillings incurred on hire of the helicopter services from the two firms." End of quote. The money used on this expenditure was donated by the World Bank. Earlier this year, the government spokesperson had announced that the government had deployed 10 helicopters in the fight against locusts, while 2 other copters were on standby and had been donated by the Kenya Defence Forces and the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO to aid in the fight.
We have so far been able to deploy 10 aircraft, out of which 6 are surveillance helicopters and 4 spray fixed-wing aircraft. We have got 2 spray aircraft, one from FAO, that is Food and Agriculture Organization, and one from KDF. Now, the one from FAO is currently on standby at Wilson Airport, and the one for KDF is at Eastleigh Air Base, ready for deployment in case of any upsurge of infestation.
The Auditor General also faulted the expenditure of 609 million shillings on the purchase of chemicals to fight locust invasion in the country. Upon inspection, the auditor Nancy Gathongo says the chemicals were still lying in Kabete stores and no explanation was given on the utilization of the chemicals, yet they were an emergency procurement. Gathongo warned the chemicals could expire before their use, leading to loss of taxpayers' money. Also faulted was another procurement of pesticides worth 400 million Kenya shillings. The Auditor General says the company awarded the tender was not listed as a supplier in the project, and the estimated value of goods was more than the maximum value of 1 million for requests of quotations. The procurement was found to be contrary to the World Bank procurement guidelines and the Public Procurement and Assets Disposal Act, which only allows the use of requests for quotations for procuring limited quantities of readily available off-the-shelf goods and commodities. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, the Kenyan government has until Wednesday midnight to reveal the names of owners of companies that benefited from the controversial 7.8 billion shillings KEMSA scandal. This was one of the IMF conditions that saw Kenya secure an ongoing 256 billion shillings loan. This as Kenya secures another loan from the World Bank amounting to 14 billion shillings.
The International Monetary Fund wants the government to lay bare the owners of the companies that were contracted by the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority in the pending 7.8 billion shilling KEMSA graft case. This will be in honor of the ongoing 256 billion shilling loan agreement. In its second review of the agreement, IMF gave an ultimatum that information on the successful bidders should be on the public domain, that is the Public Procurement Information Portal. This comes at a time when the government has just completed all its COVID-19 related expenditure forensic audits for the financial year 2019-2020. Still on money matters, the World Bank has approved an additional financing of 14 billion shillings to Kenya in aid of acquisition of COVID-19 vaccines. In a press statement, the World Bank affirmed that the funds will boost Kenya's cold chain storage capacity, vaccine safety surveillance, health workers training, as well as promotion of the COVID-19 vaccine uptake. The new allocation brings the World Bank's contributions to Kenya's COVID-19 warfare to a total of 26.5 billion shillings. Grace Josephine reporting for TV47.
Elsewhere, delay in disbursement of funds to counties remains the greatest challenge to the devolved units 8 years on. In a state of devolution address, county governments and the devolution ministry also blamed corruption in counties as one of the challenges. Josh Onsare has the details.
The state of devolution since its implementation in 2013 has seen tremendous achievements, with the counties trying to meet Kenyans' demands on service delivery. CS Devolution Eugene Wamalwa, addressing the media during the annual State of Devolution in Nairobi, said devolution needs to be answerable to Kenyans in service delivery.
To ensure a democratic and transparent government, we must, once in a while, answer to the people of Kenya, 47 million of them, in our 47 counties, as to what we are doing.
The forum raised concerns on delayed disbursement of funds to the counties, which leads to stalled projects. Denmark ambassador to Kenya Ole Thonke called on counties to up their game in the fight against corruption, terming it as the biggest challenge to devolution.
Corruption is, I do believe, the biggest enemy of devolution, and whenever counties are asking for more resources and more funding, this question keeps on coming up. So this must be fought by all levels in the counties.
The Council of Governors lamented that county revenue collection is yet to be done through established revenue collection systems. So far, 18 counties have the systems in place.
A total of 18 counties have established and deployed automated revenue collection systems. These systems include County Pro, county-specific, county collection systems like Jumbo Pay.
The governors say that the counties have invested more on agriculture, housing, manufacturing and health, efforts that have contributed to job creation for the youth and improved service delivery.
Further, the counties took measures to support trade development through one, partnership with the national government to adopt and start implementing integrated export development value chains in agriculture, manufacturing, oil and gas. Council of Governors is proud to report county government commitment to creating job opportunities and increasing our local manufacturing. Some of the achievements include the partnership between the Laikipia County Government and Dedan Kimathi University, which has seen the production of local tuk-tuks.
It is 8 years since devolution was realized in Kenya, and now stakeholders want the county governments to ensure corruption has been dealt with for the counties to achieve more in service delivery to the Kenyans. Josh Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Josh Onsare, for that report. And from the state of devolution, you are watching the county's television. Quite a number of your feedback. Let me sample some. Natule Frederick says, always watching live from Machakos. Amos Barasa says, locked in from Kakamega County. Paul Babu Jr. says, watching from Kitale County. Elfas Nalis says, best news ever. Thank you. Dennis Kibwet Kilel says, tuned. Eunice Adhiambo says, watching. Alinur Jele says, tuned. Talk to us. Tell us where you are watching your favorite TV station from. Time for us to take another short break. Stay with us. We still have a lot lined up for you.
Munisikize. Kwanza nataka kusema jambo moja. Tumepata mgeni ambaye anaitwa Beatrice, ameingia kwenye kikundi hiki. Mnafurahia? Huyu ndio dada Beatrice. Japo kwa kuna mama tu mmoja anaitwa
What? Elvis, come here.
Washer Ultra Detergent, unlike your ordinary washing powder, is formulated with 3D enzyme action designed to remove stain, kill germs, and make your laundry super clean. With ultra concentration for that one handful wash, plus a smooth fragrance to put a smile on your face.
Kuna uchafu kwenye nguo zangu, ninashindwa nitafanya vipi? Kuna suluhisho moja ya ajabu, na ni nini kama si washa?
Hey, baby. I thought leo ni chama. Nini inaendelea?
Washa Ultra ina nguvu mara tatu ya kupambana na kila uchafu. Washa Ultra ni sabuni ya ajabu. Sisi sote tung'are na washa.
Washer Ultra. Happy hands, happy clothes.
At Global Precast Panels, we have the best quality, durable and affordable precast panels to suit all your needs. Manufactured under a controlled environment, we have the best precast concrete panels, precast concrete floor slabs, precast concrete perimeter wall, precast concrete columns and beams. Our panels reduce construction cost by up to 40% with absolutely no plaster required, including added soundproof benefits, convenient four-story buildings, schools, offices, residential houses, hospitals, and warehouses. Take advantage of our free transport. Contact us on 0702 2472.
Welcome back. Now, a day after the Mzalendo Trust report revealed a list of 31 members of parliament who never spoke at the plenary in the year 2020, the MPs are now claiming that the report was meant to malign their good names. The report listed, among others, Senator Gideon Moi and MP Oscar Sudi as members who never made any contribution in Parliament. Elizabeth Mutuku has more.
Majority may wonder how an MP would fail to catch Speaker's eye for a year. Well, that's according to Mzalendo Trust, which identified 31 MPs who never spoke in the plenary for the entire 2020. However, the MPs led by South Mugirango Silvana Sosoro say that the Mzalendo Trust report was not only biased but out to malign their good names.
And we all know that Parliament closed for a better part of the 2020, from March all through to December. We actually got back to session in December, and the entire December it was a limited members of Parliament that were accessing the Assembly, and that were 88. So priority given to the House leadership, which is about 65. And And really, you don't comment or you don't just speak because you want to speak in parliament. You speak when there is a substantial issue to speak.
The Mzalendo Trust report listed MPs Abdi Shuria of Balambala, Alfred Sambu of Webuye East, Makadara's George Aladwa, Gideon Conchela of Kilgoris, Imran Okoth of Kibra, Kapsaret MP and DP Ruto defender Oscar Sudi, and Musio of Makueni as members who never contributed in the House in the year 2020. Others who have been mute in the National Assembly include women representatives Jane Chebaibai of Elgeyo Marakwet, Jane Njiru of Embu, Anab Gure of Garissa, Irene Kasalu of Kitui, and Amina Gedo of Mandera, Asha Mohamed of Mombasa, Lilian Tomitom of West Pokot, and Janet Teya of Kajiado also made zero contributions at the floor of the House. MPs Ernest Kivai of Vihiga, Banisas Malim Kulo, Said Aribayo of Galole, and nominated MP Maina Kamanda did not speak on the floor of the House for the last year. For some in their defense, however, say that their efforts are channeled in the House committees and their constituencies.
They shouldn't just focus on what they see on TV, and that is why parliamentary website has got number of times we've spoken now in total, both in the committee and the plenary. They shouldn't focus their energies on the plenary. And if they should focus there, they should be more practical. I have never seen my old colleagues speak here. I do not understand why. They don't even come to the committees, but you are singling out on Osoro. How do you even place Osoro on the first page with Gideon Moi?
The lawmakers further blaming their failure to contribute at the floor of the House on COVID-19, which led to reduction in the number of House sittings.
Law-making process has 3 steps, and one of the steps is done at the committee stage, which is never brought on TV. Committees are always 18-member, and if indeed it's true that a member has missed sittings or perhaps hasn't even been coming to parliament, but has been doing some activities in the committee, that is in itself is legislation. Legislation is not limited to speaking in the plenary. Legislation is done in the committees. Actually, much of the work of laws and everything is done in the committee, which is usually a 19-member committee.
Elizabeth Mutuko, TV Ruby.
Now, a mechanic and his accomplice who murdered an engineer 6 years ago and dumped his body at a dam were today sentenced to life imprisonment by Anyeri Court. Chief Magistrate Wedi Kagendo sentenced Paul Kinuthia and James Kingori to life sentences, saying that the prosecution had proved beyond any reasonable doubt that the two violently robbed and killed the engineer. Zainab Mohammed tells us more.
After 6 long years of waiting, the family of the late engineer George Muraguri Gikonyo has finally found justice after the court found the co-accused Paul Kinuthia and James Kingori guilty of murder. While sentencing the duo, Nyeri Chief Magistrate Wedi Kagendo said the duo will be spending the rest of their life in prison as a consequence of their immoral yet barbaric criminal act.
The court has looked at the circumstances of this case. I know that accused one in particular has chosen a life of extreme vice and violence, and therefore it's important that he be kept away from society and for a long time. Accused two was his close associate, though he was not convicted in this Bika case. And having been considered the time that they have spent in custody, the court sentences each of them to a prison term for the remainder of their lives.
The state called 11 witnesses, among them Gikonyo's widow Faith Njoki, who recounted the last moments leading to her husband's death.
It's a relief leo na nimesikia vizuri vile koti imeamua ya kwamba hao watu wamefungwa maisha. Hiyo ndio tulikuwa tunalilia, at least justice to prevail, sababu hao watu ni watu wanafaa kuwa out of the society, ni watu walitenda vitendo, na hata hiyo kitendo ilikuwa kitendo mbaya.
Tangu wakati ule nilipomleta hapa hospitali kumwona maiti, wakati tulikuwa tunatarajia kumsika siku yake ya kesho, tulikuja na yeye. Alipomuona hata hakujibu, aliangalia na akatoka. Nafikiria kichwa yake iliharibika. Tangu wa leo mama na ni mwalimu hawezi kujua.
Kagendo in her earlier ruling had acquitted a third accused, Samuel Mukato, due to contradictions on evidence adduced in court against him. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Well, former Kigumo MP Jamlek Kamau has officially declared his bid to vie for Murang'a gubernatorial seat come 2022. This will be the second time he will be vying for the seat. His first attempt in 2017 flopped when he lost in the Jubilee nominations to Governor Mwangi wa Iria.
Former Kigumo Member of Parliament Jamlek Kamau has come out openly to declare his interest in the Murang'a gubernatorial race come 2022. This will be the second time he will be vying for the seat after his first attempt in 2017 flopped when he lost in the Jubilee Party nominations.
Hii ni declaration kufuatia a lot of requests by watu wa county ya Murang'a wakitaka nisimame, wakitaka kujua msimamo yangu, na nimesema yes, nitakuwa nikinyang'ania kiti ya governor ya county ya Murang'a, Mungu akitujalia mwaka inayokuja 2022.
Kamau noted that he kept off the political limelight to give the incumbent governor space to complete his term. He announces his interest at a time when Mount Kenya region is undecided on which political party they should support.
Governor Mwangi wa Iria kazi afanye kwa sababu kazi yake inasaidia Wanjiku. Ya pili, nikasema ya kwamba Rais Uhuru Kenyatta pia alituambia wakati wa siasa haijafika. Tufanye kazi kwanza, siasa tufanye baadaye. Mimi decide kufanya kuhakikisha hiyo tumeambiwa nimefanya.
The former lawmaker said he shall be using his foot soldiers in the county to sell his agenda to the residents, exuding confidence of becoming the second governor for the county. Kamau, who has been the chairman of the Tana and Athi River Development Authority, called for peaceful campaigns devoid of insults and sideshows by other aspirants eyeing the seat.
Tuhakikisha wakati hii hatufanyi ile siasa ambaye ni ya kuharibiana majina, ambaye ni ya matusi, ambaye ni siasa ambaye haiwezi furahisha mtu yoyote. Tunataka kila mtu akona sera zake, kila mtu aingie mashinani, aongee na Wanjiku.
The former lawmaker called for a firm unity in Mount Kenya region to help in the negotiation for positions at the elections after seeing political divisions in the region.
We will not, as the Kikuyu nation, be able to go anywhere. And when I talk about the Kikuyu nation, I'm talking the entire Mount Kenya region. We have to really go back to our roots. And remember, we have never voted in any election in a divided manner.
Mount Kenya region is currently facing a major test after the break of the Jubilee Party and the looming exit for President Uhuru Kenyatta from the leadership of the country. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Moving on, the LAPSSET project, that is a tenet for Kenya's Vision 2030 goals, contains various development projects including a pipeline, resort cities, airport, Lamu Port, among others. On his second day tour to Lamu County for the inspection of the LAPSSET project, government spokesperson Cyrus Oguna inspected the length of completion of the transport system that is hailed to connect Kenya to the east, west and central Africa. Maria Mwacharo reports.
They say Rome was not built in a day. The first segment was the Lamu-Garsen road, that is the first tarmac road in the history of Lamu County. The road has contributed to boosting security and reducing travel hours.
Kutoka Mombasa kuja Lamu hapo awali ingechukua masaa zaidi ya 10. Lakini kwa sasa hivi masaa 4 ikizidi masaa 5. Pia vile vile kutoka Lamu kuelekea Garsen masaa zaidi ya 10 hapo awali, kwa sasa hivi ni masaa karibu 5 tu umefika Garsen. Lakini zaidi hapo ni pia inachangia kwa usalama wa eneo hili, kwa sababu kwamba kwa sasa hivi kwa sababu ni kiwango cha lami itakuwa ni vigumu hasa kwa hawa ambao tunasema magaidi kuweza kuchimba na kuweka makombora ndani.
And the residents are even more hopeful for business expansion as security continues to improve due to the improved transport network.
Yani wakati hakukuwa na barabara kulikuwa na shida nyingi. Hata ukipiga simu kule station ukuje usaidiwe hapa haungepata usaidizi. Lakini kwa wakati huu usafiri inakuwa rahisi, ukiitana wanakuja haraka na kazi inaendelea.
Ni wanawake na usa maziwa wangu wameharibika mbeleni barabarani. Na sasa hii anafika usalama. Na sasa akienda Gerseni na kuja mara 3 na mbeleni analala njiani.
According to the Lapset project resident engineer Willis Ingare, the Lamu-Garsen road has costed the government close to 11 billion shillings and is at 94% completion. He says the remainder will be done by August 2021.
Sasa tumemaliza main road kutoka Minjila mpaka Mokoe, tumemaliza kilomita 105.5 kilometers, ambao ni 94% of the main road. Bado tungali na Mpeketoni loop ambao ni kilomita 19 kutoka Kibaoni kuingia Mpeketoni na kutokea Mkunumbi pale.
It is at this corridor that the Lapset project cargo operations shall be carried out, with cargo moving through the network to the East and Central Africa, favoring President Kenyatta's push for free trade in Africa.
So this corridor is extremely important. It's not just for offtake, it's also for opening up all these counties in North and Northeastern Kenya. And we are expecting with the resort city, which is planned for Lamu, a resort city in Isiolo, and a resort city in Turkana as well. This will be the main trunk road. Separating that. The one other road which is under planning is the one from Isiolo going northeast towards Mandera. And the moment we have that one road going to Turkana, the other one going to Moyale, and the other going to Mandera, we will have opened up the whole of northern Kenya. That's what I'm calling Kenya 2.0.
Despite the challenges posed by the heavy rains in Lamu County, the Lapset project leads are hopeful for its completion in good time. The Lapset project entails an intricate interconnection of a transport network system from Lamu County towards South Sudan and Ethiopia through Garsen and Isiolo. This Lapset corridor here is the center of the expansion of businesses in between these countries and, of course, East and West Africa through Kenya. Mariam Wacharo, TV47, Lamu County.
Let's get to some business news. And rice farmers under the Mwea irrigation scheme have decried a low production of rice which has been occasioned by the invasion of snails. The farmers say it has been a tragedy for them this season as the paddy rice has hit the lowest price in the market. Mudhoni Maina has more.
Snails and quillia birds are the new menace at the Mwea irrigation scheme as they wreak havoc, causing sleepless nights to rice farmers in the region. Francis Gishobi, a rice farmer at Kimbembe, says the snails have invaded the irrigation scheme in large numbers as they have continued to mutate, thus withstanding all the pesticides that have been prescribed by agricultural officers.
Hizi wadudu zinaweza kula eka moja kwa siku moja. Na hizi snail kwenye zinakaa huku chini ya udongo ni nyingi kupita kiasi juu. Kama kila snail moja itachukua kamea kamoja, hiyo eka yote itaisha kwa siku hiyo.
According to Chomba Ndau, a miller in Ngurubani, 50 shillings per kg is the current price range for rice, with the highest middlemen buying at 55 Kenya shillings, a move that had them covered in losses despite a promising presidential directive that was issued last year on the buying price.
We don't know who is benefiting when it is retailing at 50 shillings, whereas the president issued a directive. When the president issues a directive, we must have people that to ensure that the process of bringing the result is really adhered to. But it's like the information added to deaf ears, Nobody cares.
Last year, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru said that the county should allocate funds to buy pesticides for the eradication of the snails and quelea birds. However, those promises have hit a wall as no support from the government has been witnessed so far.
Ambiwa hiyo shida na tunanunua dawa ile ambayo inaweza katumika ndio tupatie wakulima wetu. Na sio hiyo tu ya snails, pia kuna shida ya ndege. Ndege zinakuja mwezi wa 10 na 11 na tumeongea na wabunge tukapanga vile tutashirikiana na serikali kuu ndio pia hao ndege tuone vile tutawaangamiza ndio wakulima wasikapoteze mpunga.
Vonnie Maina, TV47.
Now, despite the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, the brewing sector is devising innovative methods to make the most out of the short time available for hangouts. In a span of 2 months, Keroche Breweries has yet again launched a middle-class beer to meet its customers' needs. Our reporter Willie Dennis Njiru has that story from Naivasha.
The beer manufacturing sector in the country remains one of the hardest hit by the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. With over 54,000 bars across the country, there are looming layoffs, nearly 250,000 workers, representing 20,000 bars countrywide. Nonetheless, Keroche Breweries have launched yet another brand to aid the ailing sector.
You cannot just sleep, you must remain innovative. You must remain innovative. And the curfew time, it's 7 o'clock. So why don't you give the beer drinkers, the beer lovers, a drink that they can have at a shorter time?
You only take 2-3 and you're good. And then you walk home and you're satisfied.
And we cannot just sleep there because the industries, we can't say that we close them.
This comes amid a myriad of challenges, calls on all governors to support bar owners by slashing the operating license cost by 60%.
We're also calling on the governors to hasten the conversation and the engagement that we're doing of requesting all the governors to give us a waiver of 60% of the fees because we are only operating for 2 hours and normally operate for 8 hours.
21 counties, including Nakuru and Murang'a County, have shown the will to waive the license fee in order to save the sector from collapsing.
We're also calling on His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. Every time we've come to you and we've cried to you, you've given us an opportunity to operate. So we're still calling on you. Our people have complied without enforcement. We've come up with campaigns to support them. Please give us an opportunity to operate for 2 more hours.
Also, liquor brewers are concerned over liquor imports that have flooded the market, much to their detriment. But they say they have chosen to look at the brighter side.
We need to support our local, our own manufacturing plant, because worldwide we've seen countries that are supporting their own manufacturing plants. They are embracing their own, are the ones who are able to survive and during this pandemic, which we are suffering worldwide.
For TV47 from Naivasha in Nakuru County, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
As news, let's get to the world of sports. Dennis Otieno is with us, and I must say a happy Dennis Otieno.